Shalom, shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Abashai, Bashim Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutation to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered, hopefully elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth that be like unto the speckled bird. And to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. And we're going to talk about agents and the media. There's a video that I imagine it's well up over 400,000 views. It's about to go viral. And it's clearly the images of it have been posted all over social media of a guy, I believe his name was James Penderson, I think, who's an Edomite, or perceived, at least in face. His spirit and his movement, he looked like an Edomite because I actually saw the video. So basically what happened was that in this video, at this peaceful protest in Minneapolis, you saw this guy dressed in all black with a gas mask on, a respirator, and an umbrella. And he walked up and he started smashing out the windows of an AutoZone, and the people started recording him immediately. And you had this one Jake that rolled up on him, this little bitty Jake, man, you know, smoking a blunt and carrying a box of donuts. But he rolled up on him and asked him, why did he do that? That you just turned this thing, you know. And then there was a couple of Edomites that approached him too. And one of the Edomites called him out, said, man, you're a cop. Somebody recognized him. That's how we got his name and his face now. And it's all over social media. So, and even though he's wearing a mask, you can clearly see it's the same guy. All right. But as he began to walk away, as he realized he was being filmed and they were questioning him, he began to expediently walk away. They were, you know, challenging him, you know, and asking him, why did you do that? You just turned this, you're going to make the cops come. So long story short, later on, you see that same store set ablaze, the riotous situation, the people got hyped up, and now you have stores burning, and then the media reports it as such. Rioters do this. But the media didn't report the fact that this was all kicked off and instigated by a so-called white man. And I imagine the same things are happening in the other cities where these things are going on, because this is what they want. This is part of it, you know. This is part of the plan, and they really are trying to bring on the, you know, civil unrest, the riots, and all this sort of thing. You know, to hide, and it's all about hiding the crash of the dollar. Then you got the, you know, the whole COVID thing. You know, it's just so much going on. It's hard to keep up with. But let's read an account in the Bible in the book of Esther. All right, and I'm starting the book of Esther in chapter 10 in the Apocrypha, and I'm gonna read verse 8, and it says, "And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews." And that's what this is all about. They're trying to destroy the name of Israel, who the true Israelites are, the people who are now reclaiming their Hebrew Israelite heritage. As a matter of fact, they're actually using that term now. It was BHI for a long time, but you know, they're finally beginning to let up off of that, because the main Hebrew Israelites that are pushing the truth of the Lord are the men of the Great Millstone, and the brothers who teach the likewise doctrine. It's going to be really, really hard to connect men like us to anything black, since we denounce that word, that title, and all the organizations that are connected to it so fiercely and so hardly on all of our videos. We do not acknowledge that word. So now I guess they're realizing that they need to drop it and just say Hebrew Israelite, the same as it would say in the Bible. All right. So I'm gonna jump down to verse 11, and it says, "And these two lots came to at the hour and the time and the day of judgment before God and among all the nations." And judgment is coming. Judgment is going to come to both the nation of Israel and both the nation of Edom and the rest of the world. But all our judgments are different. All right, because you have, you know, you got the 2/3 that are going to die right along with the heathen, and then you have Edom is going to be completely wiped out at the end of this whole deal. but they have to serve 1,000 years of slavery. And then so does the other heathen. All nations, all principalities, all hills and mountains have to bow down, bend the knee, and serve Yahweh Shai and his Israelites, which is and that government that he's going to set up of the 144,000. But let's go further into the book of Esther, and I'm going to start reading it. At verse 12. All right, I'm going to read verse 12 all the way into 13, because this story is so relevant to what's going now, you know, with the fabricating of information, you know, fabricating of history, teaching falsehoods, and that whole sort of thing. All right, so it says, this is verse 1, and it says, And Mordecai took his rest in the court of Gabbatha and Thara, and the 2 eunuchs of the king and the keepers of the palace. And he heard their devices and searched out their purpose, and learned that they were about to lay hands upon Artaxerxes the king. And so he certified the king of them. And then the king examined the 2 eunuchs, and after that they had confessed it, they were strangled. So basically, they were found out their plot, and that's kind of like what's going on now. They're pushing these narratives on the people, but then, you know, with the internet now, it's all the evidence is of these crimes are being exposed now, and people don't like it. You know, the people are seeing just you know, all these different crimes being committed by the government. And that is clearly some sort of agenda being pushed. That's why you got so much pushback. Why you have people that are trying to uphold the Constitution. You got people that are in complete and total rebellion against the lockdown and against against the agenda that they're pushing. All right, that's why they're preparing with all the military and that whole sort of thing. But let's get back into the scripture. Then it says, howbeit. Oh no, verse 4. And the king made a record of these things, and Mordecai also wrote thereof. So the king commanded Mordecai to serve in the court, and for this he was rewarded him. Howbeit Amon, the son of Amadathus, the Agagite, which is an Edomite, all right, because remember, Agag could be traced back to Esau, Edom. It said, who was in great honor with his king, sought to molest Mordecai and his people because the 2 eunuchs of the king. So those 2 eunuchs were his men. He was down with them. That was a part of his plan. He was a part of that plan. And that's basically what Esau's doing. He's playing the victim villain. He's committing all the crimes. At the same time, he's crying that he's the victim. All right, and he's setting the people up because why? He's trying to set up his new world order. And he's got plenty of people on his side, including Israelites. Okay? Now I'm going to jump to verse 3. All right, chapter 3 in the 13th chapter of Esther. All right, and it reads, now when I asked my counsels how this might be brought to pass, Amon excelled in his wisdom among us and was approved for his constant goodwill, steadfast fidelity, and had honor of the second place in the kingdom. So he worked himself up to be second in command in the whole kingdom. And when he did so, well, you're going to see his nefarious plan revealed here. Verse 4, declared unto us that all nations throughout the world that were scattered, a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations and continually despised the commandments of the kings, so as uniting of our kingdoms honorably, intended us not to go forward. So, and what they were trying to do, they were trying to unite, they were trying to create a world order even then, in the old world, in the ancient world. All right, they were trying to do it back then. And of course, the Israelites are going to gravitate toward their law, statutes, and commandments, which go contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments of this world. And we are being persecuted for them to this very day. All right. And verse 5, it says, seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition unto all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws and evil affected to our state, working all mischief that our kingdom may not be firmly established. So why? Because we don't agree with wickedness. We don't agree with same-sex marriage, and all the alphabet letter stuff. We agree with the law, statutes, and commandments that are written in the Bible. All right, and we stand fast on those, and we're labeled terrorists. That they've even compared us to Klansmen and things of that nature. The Hebrew Israelites. And I was like, well, where's the book? If you've ever seen the book Without Sanctuary, which is a book of thousands of images of hung, brutalized, murdered, charred bodies of Negro, so-called Negroes and Negro women, and also of some Hispanics and natives as well. All right, you might even have a few Sicilians and Irish in there, but we already know the story. Those are the ones who had so-called Negro forefathers. All right, but they have a record of hanging, murdering, killing, all the way up until recently. Arbery, you best believe those good old boys down there that killed Arbery, that they have KKK, white supremacist ties. You better believe that they do. But the Hebrew Israelites have never done anything like that. And then there's probably over 100,000 videos online of us teaching, speaking against violence. We're saying that all the violence is going to be done by the Lord when He returns. And that we're to do nothing but to teach our heritage. And that is our message. And they know that. But just by us teaching, look at what's going on in the world. Look at what's happening now that why? Because the curses are upon them. All right? That's why. The curses are now upon them. Why? Because the children of light, all right, which are the Hebrew Israelites, have awakened. And look at the vibration of what's going on in the earth. He is losing control. All right, he's activating his plans too soon or too late. This place is in a total mess. And you would think, you're looking at these Edomites that are walking the dogs, and you would think that everything is normal, but things are far from normal here right now, man. Things are far from normal. People going up and down the lakefront. Well, the beach over there, the lakefront is still closed, but this park is open, fully open. This area that I'm sitting in now was fenced off, but now it's opened up. And I'm sitting at an empty restaurant, at a field house restaurant, and of course, nosy ass Edomites had to come over here and come all stand around me to see what I was doing. But nevertheless, there's nobody here. This place is still closed, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this place will not be able to operate. Here's the deck. All right, this is where the outdoor seating is, the little ramp to go up it, and this is the outdoor seating. There's the door you will come out of the restaurant, and there the front door. That's the main entrance. So this is like a little a little sanctuary restaurant / locker room for all these sports to take place out here in this baseball field. There's basketball fields down that way, and all these, and they play soccer out here and all these other things. But this place is not going to open up, because how is it going to operate with half capacity? It's not going to be able to do it, man. All right, it's not going to work, because this place is failing. So, but let me find the name of that video again, the one that's still up, because I just watched one with the John X Army about the agent provocateur. But yeah, this video, the one that I'm talking about, is called "Suspicious Man Breaks Windows and Starts Minneapolis Riots." Once again, suspicious man breaks windows and starts Minneapolis riots. Okay, but you would never know that, and that man happened to be a police officer, and he happened to be a so-called white police officer. But I can promise you on your life that won't be mentioned on Fox, CNBC, ABC, CBS. None of the mainstream news outlets is not going to be there. All right, but I'm going to read one more scripture and close this thing up, which is is it Deuteronomy 30:7, or is it? Right, and it reads, and Yahweh thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and upon them that hate thee, which persecute thee. All right, so all these curses are coming upon them. That's why this kingdom is collapsing, why it's going down, because the elect are awakened. Jacob's trouble has definitely begun. It's in its beginning stages, has been for a while now, and but this is going to get way worse, way worse. All right, one more scripture. This is Isaiah 47:6, and it reads, I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient thou very heavily laid thy yoke, and thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever. So thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, meaning thy mind. Neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. And the latter end of it is that Esau is going to pay for all he's done, going to hardcore slavery for 1,000 years, and then they're going to get rounded up and get exterminated. Because when you go back to that book of Esther, I highly suggest that you read it. Amon suggested that the Israelites be slain by the sword. They're young, they're old, they're women, they're children, and everything. That's what he suggested be done to them. All right? But that's what's going to happen to him. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Abishai, Bashim Rakak Madash, and Wa Abba Baba. Shalom.